What is up, awesome peeps? Brent McCluskey here with Electrified Reviews, and today we are reviewing the electric bike company Model Y electric bike. This is the fourth electric bike from EBC that we have reviewed, and I swear they get better each time. Before we dive into the specs, first, let's roll the B-roll. All right, awesome peeps. So again, this is the Electric Bike Company, or EBC Model Y electric bike. This is one of their newer offerings from EBC. We reviewed the Model C and the Model S a while back. Those are some of their original bikes. This one, the Model Y, starts for $13.99, which is quite a bit less than their kind of older siblings, the Model C and the Model S, which have just a few more features. But really, this is a very similar bike to those kind of upgraded ones at a pretty good price cut. Some cool things about this bike and about the company before we even dive into the specs is, well, first and foremost, $13.99 is an incredible, that's an entry-level price. And this bike, as you guys will see as we dive into it, is not an entry-level bike. This is definitely like a high-end, good components, good quality, well-built electric bike. And there's a lot of cool stuff the company does to really kind of sweeten that deal even more. So first of all, for $13.99, that includes free shipping, which is fantastic because a lot of times companies will kind of, I don't want to say hide, but they'll kind of hide fees in the shipping, and so they'll charge an extra $250, $300, whatever, for shipping charges, and that kind of hikes up the price quite a bit, especially depending on where you live. But with EBC, that's not the case. It's free shipping. Also, these bikes are completely assembled by hand in the USA in Newport, California, which is fantastic for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, it means that everything is going to be pro-tuned from the factory. So there's not going to be any brake rub. The fenders fit really well. The basket's already assembled. We don't have to do any of that stuff ourselves when we unbox it. That's just a really good thing. They spoke their own tires here, their own rims, which is just amazing. Yeah, so that's really cool. Now also, what's dope about this is when this does ship, it actually ships 100% assembled to your door, 100%. So the only thing you have to do to get this thing up and going when it arrives to your doorstep is basically twist these handlebars up. They come kind of like just like folded down to save room, put some air in the tires, and you are good to go. If you want to see what it's like to unbox this bike and put it together, I'll leave a link to our IGTV unboxing video in the description so you can kind of see really just how easy it is. Some of the cool stuff about this bike, and really about all bikes with EBC, is going to be their warranty. So the warranty for this bike is going to be 10 years for the frame. 10 years, awesome peeps, which is incredible, and 5 years comprehensive. That is a extremely generous warranty, especially for this price point, and honestly, it's the best warranty we have ever seen on an electric bike, and that warranty extends to all of EBC's products. So really, really, really cool stuff here. Trying to think of what else is the colors and stuff. So as far as frame sizes go, this is really the only frame size that we have an option for right here. It's kind of like a one size fits all. Now, this step-through version, I think most of the versions of this bike, it does have an adjustable angle stem for the handlebars, so you can raise and lower that stem. That's going to either increase or decrease your reach and also kind of change your posture and riding style. But that's kind of a way to cheat or shortcut a frame size to kind of make it fit for you. So it's very cool. They include that as a standard feature. It's not an upgrade. It comes stock with the bike, so that's pretty dope. As far as colors go, right now, the only color that we have available for the frame for the Model Y is going to be this white color, which is honestly just beautiful. Hopefully you can see it in the sun here. Yeah, it's just a really, really clean color. And you can accent this bike with a couple of color options: red, white, black, and I think silver, like a silver finish. However, if you do want a different color than what's available, they offer pretty much every color under the sun, but it does cost extra for a custom color option. I think it's $399 for a custom color job, which is quite a bit. But the paint on this is amazing, and one of the reasons it costs so much is because the paint process of how they do this is pretty amazing. They put, I think it's 3 coats of paint on the frame. So these frames come to these guys naked, right? There's no paint on it, there's nothing, there's just a naked frame. They throw 3 layers of paint on it, 2 layers of primer, they heat treat the whole thing, so it's like super durable, it lasts for a really long time, keeps that shine for years and years to come. It's just another one of the many things that kind of separates, I think, EBC from a lot of different companies. So let's dive into the specs here, awesome peeps, and we'll start explaining this bike and breaking it down here. So starting in the back, we've got this MX US internally geared hub motor, 500 watt nominal output, 1000 watt peak output with 60 newton meters of torque. Now, this MX US hub motor here, yes, it's 500 watts nominal. Now, really though, it's more like a 1000 watt motor. And the reason for that is, normally when electric bikes say their motor's peak power, that means the motor can reach that wattage for just a couple of seconds, maybe a full minute, while it's doing a big hill climb or something. But then it's got to cool down, it's got to kind of rest and go back down to its nominal wattage, its nominal output. This motor, the MX US motors, they are able to sustain their peak output for, I don't want to say indefinitely, but pretty much indefinitely. We have tested this motor extensively, and it does not drop down below its peak wattage ever. Like if I'm asking for full power from this thing on big, long hill climbs, it will continue to give it to me until I let off, which is incredible. Really, really huge deal. So again, yeah, it's 500 watt, but really it's a 1000 watt motor, which is incredible, especially again at this price point. Now, the 500 watt motor here, or 1000 watt, whatever you want to call it, it brings this bike up to a top speed of 25 miles per hour with the pedal assist, or 20 miles per hour with the throttle. We've got the throttle right here on the right-hand side. Right there, just a little twist throttle for your thumb twist throttle, whatever you want to call it. 25 mile per hour top speed. However, that's out of the box. You can adjust the top speed in the settings, so you can turn it down. You can also turn up the top speed. Realistically, with this motor, you could probably hit 28 miles per hour pretty easily on flat ground with a throttle only. And again, that just goes back to because of how powerful it is, it's able to crank out that 1000 watts of power. So very, very cool stuff. Now, I talked about the pedal assist here. This is going to be a cadence sensor. You can kind of see the little magnetic housing right there for the cadence sensor on this bike. This is my biggest, I think this is the bike's biggest downfall. Really, everything else is just about perfect on this bike. And the cadence sensor is not a bad thing. Just me personally, I'm not a huge fan of cadence sensors for one main reason. There's a big start and stop, there's a start and stop delay from the time that I start and stop pedaling the bike to the time that the motor actually starts kicking out power and shuts off. So if I start pedaling, I'll start the rotation, and then a second later the motor will activate, and then if I stop pedaling, it'll deactivate maybe a half second later or something like that. Now what's cool is you can override that though, both with the throttle, because the throttle is hot from 0 miles per hour. You can also override the motor stopping with the motor inhibitors and the brakes, which we'll talk more about. Actually, we'll talk about those right now. So for the braking power on this, we've got Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, front and rear, 180 millimeter rotors. You can see there in the front, and also 180 millimeter in the rear. I show you guys the rear rotors too, because sometimes companies will throw like a smaller diameter rotor, like 160 millimeter, in the rear, because you don't need as much stopping power. But EBC opted to go for 180 front and rear, which is a bonus. It's very good. Now these are dual piston, by the way, these Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. Dual piston, very, very powerful disc brakes, tons of stopping power, and that's something that you want, something that you need on a bike that goes, 25 miles per hour top speed minimum. It can go, like I was saying, you can go even faster than that. So you want that extra stopping power. Now, because these are hydraulic disc brakes, you can adjust the position, the resting position of the brake levers here. You can bring them in so that they're like this, if you got smaller hands, or if you got bigger hands, whatever, you can let them out so they stop right about here, and then they function the same way, just changes the resting position. Also, these motors do have, or these brake levers do have motor inhibitors built in. It's gonna be one of these wires. I think it's gonna be this one right here. Now the motor inhibitors, those cut power to the motor as soon as I depress the brake levers. So that's awesome because it ensures the shortest possible stopping distance, and it's basically like a safety feature. And again, that is important for this bike, the Model Y, because it does have a cadence sensor and it does have that kind of delay, like we talked about, that kind of lag from the time I start and stop pedaling. So if I'm doing an emergency stop and I hit the brake levers, the motor might still stay active for like a split second if it did not have motor inhibitors, but with those motor inhibitors, boom, it just cuts power immediately. So that's super dope, really do like that. Now this is going to be a single speed electric bike, 1 gear, 2 options for the rear chainring. You can do, I think, a 16 tooth and an 18 tooth to kind of change your cadence for the max, for the top speed, you know. You might be able to order a custom cog here for the back. I'm not really sure. However, there's 2 really cool things. First of all, EBC just like literally the other day started offering derailleurs from the company itself. So if you do want this to be like a 7-speed, you can do that. I think they're going to use a Shimano Altus derailleur, and they're going to have a Shimano Altus trigger shifter, I think, from the company for like 68 bucks, something like that. However, if you have your own derailleur, or if you're like, you know what, I want a single speed, but then later on you decide I do want a derailleur, this comes pre-drilled with derailleur bosses. Boom, boom, boom. So you can actually attach a derailleur of your own if you want to. Very cool, very thoughtful of EBC. It also has bosses right here for a rack if you want, or like other accessories, whatever. I think there's some more on this side too. Is there? No, there's not. But yeah, I mean, the fact that these guys have like pre-drilled bosses in here, just in case you want like an extra accessory, very, very cool. Just really thoughtful from the company. I do dig that. Let's see what else. The frame itself, like we talked, okay, so the frame, 6061 hydroformed aluminum alloy, and the curb weight on this is gonna be about 55 pounds, which is not bad, especially considering it's a bigger bike. It's got a longer wheelbase. It's a big old cruiser. It's got that basket in the front. It does have rims on it, so I mean, not rims. It does have fenders on it, which add a little bit of weight. So overall, it's actually pretty light curb weight considering. Now the frame is another cool thing about this bike, and all EBC bikes is, normally the thickness on frames is going to be about 1.5 millimeters. However, the frames here on the EBC bikes are about 3 millimeters thick, or about twice as thick as most electric bikes, which is awesome because it really just improves the strength and durability of these bikes overall. And I think the max load capacity in these bikes is about 380 pounds, which is incredible. And also that's important because it does have this front basket. So, you know, I weigh like 180 pounds, but let's say I throw, you know, I don't know, 30 pounds of gear in the basket, I'm wearing a 40-pound backpack. I'm already really loading this thing up, so it's nice that it has that high load capacity. And one thing we haven't talked about yet, but I do want to talk about it really quick, is this is a step-through. And one of the coolest things about step-throughs, in my opinion, is just how approachable they are and how easy it is to get on and off of these bikes, right? That's kind of one of the biggest, I think, appeals to this, is instead of like a traditional, like, you know, half diamond frame or step over, however you want to call it, you know, typically you have to kind of swing your entire leg over the saddle to get on a bike like that, right? With this bike, it's just a lot easier because all you have to do is just step through like that, and boom, there you go. And also, as you'll see, I'm standing flat on the ground. I have a pretty short inseam, and yet I've got tons of clearance here for this bike. And that's another cool thing, is it just allows you to keep your feet flat on the ground when you're at a stop. Or just whenever you want to. It just kind of gives like that feeling of safety and control, like you have full control over the bike. I wasn't really a big fan of step-throughs when I first tried them. The more I've been using them, the more we've tested them, the more I've really, really come to appreciate them. And honestly, you know, in my opinion, this is probably the coolest looking step-through we've ever seen. So really cool stuff. And the battery here on this bike is going to be in the basket, right? So if you've watched the other reviews for EBC bikes, you know, most of the batteries are going to be either on the down tube, or they have like a rack and they'll throw the battery back there. This one is going to be in the basket, which is kind of cool. First of all, it's cool because this basket is attached to the headset on the frame, okay? So this is not attached to the forks, it's attached to the frame, which is important because it keeps the weight on the frame. So when I turn the wheel here, the basket stays straight. So it just makes it so that when I'm riding this thing, you don't really feel the weight that's in the basket. So very, very important feature there. Now the battery itself is gonna be a 48 volt system, 10.4 amp hour battery for about 40 miles of range or so. Of course, like we always say, range is gonna depend quite a bit on, you know, how you ride the bike, rider weight, what kind of terrain it is, how windy. Like right today, it's like really windy. That actually does affect range quite a bit. I'm trying to see if you like see the wind, like it's kind of hard to show wind, but yeah, anyways, it's windy today. But yeah, so 48 volt, 10.4 amp hour, 40 mile range, good stuff. Now I don't think you can remove this basket battery, so you do have to charge it while it's connected to the bike. Not a huge deal, but you know, just something to keep in mind here. Now you can upgrade the battery here to have an alarm system, right? There's a little key fob right here, and then if I press that, you can hear it just locks it. And then if somebody moves it while it's locked, it sets the alarm off. And as you guys can probably hear, it's actually pretty loud. It's a nice little safety feature if you plan on leaving your bike unattended. You know, not a necessary thing, but yeah, it's just an option that they give you if you do want it. So that's kind of cool. Some other interesting points about this bike. Well, actually going back to the battery really quick, you know, again, EBC just takes a lot of, I think, pride in their products and like what they're presenting. So the batteries, as far as the actual cells go, these are gonna be Samsung or Panasonic internationally approved cells. So these are gonna be, for the most part, superior cells compared to most electric bikes, except for like really high-end stuff. Most people will use LG cells, whatever, that's fine. But Panasonic, Samsung, those are the best cells. Second of all, EBC invested in their own like battery assembly company that's like local in the US. So they have a hand in the assembly process for the batteries. So they're individually fused cells, and they're just basically they're going to be safer than most batteries. There's less of a chance of it catching fire. It's going to increase the longevity of the batteries overall. They're just really good stuff, good quality stuff. Also, I mentioned briefly, I think, that they spoke their own rims in the factory, which is really cool, really cool. So that makes sure that these rims are going to be, the wheels themselves are going to be perfectly balanced, but also the rims here are not like just regular bike rims. They're actually upgraded, double-walled, extra thick rims to support the extra weight of the electric bike, because obviously 55 pounds is significantly heavier than an analog bike, which would probably weigh something like, I don't know, 35 pounds. And you know, because it does weigh more and because it does go so much faster, if I hit a bump on that front wheel especially, at higher speeds, the energy transfer to that tire is going to be much higher, and without that kind of upgraded rim, there's going to be a chance of it collapsing. So basically the rims, the frame, all of this just adds structural integrity, increased durability to the frame itself and to the bike overall. It does have integrated lighting too, by the way. We got a light here in the front, boom, and this little tail light right here in the back. Now, these are actually pretty good lights, especially the one in the front. The beam pattern is not so bad at all. It's got a pretty decent throw, pretty decent spill, and you can actually use this headlight here to kind of illuminate your path at night for lower speeds. Like if I'm going down this road at night, right? I mean, I would be fine with that, using this light, maybe going 10, 15 miles an hour. If you guys plan on like, you know, hauling, going full speed at night with this bike, I would probably recommend still getting like an aftermarket headlight, throwing it on the handlebars, throwing it on your helmet, like however you want to do that. And if you want, you can actually power something with a USB type A port that's going to be right here on the display. So that's kind of cool. Speaking of the display, let's go ahead and show you guys this real quick. All right, so to turn this display on right here, it's just a long press of the power button on the independent button pad, up arrow, down arrow, pretty simple stuff. This is a great display, one of our favorites. It's an electric bike company branded, but I'm pretty sure this is gonna be a Bafang display, just with their name on it. 4-bar battery indicator up here on top. Probably my second and really only other gripe for this bike. It'd be nice if this was a percentage indicator so we could know kind of almost like exactly how much juice is left. Because 4 bars, 25% increments, not very much. It's just, you know, whatever. Time ridden, current level of pedal assist, current speed, motor wattage output. This is a very cool little piece of information right here. This is how, you know, when I'm telling you guys, oh, it stays at 1,000 watts, it's because I can see it right here on the display. I know exactly how much wattage this thing is kicking out because it'll tell me right here. Distance traveled, the tripometer, and then current temperature outside. If I just do a short press of the power button, it'll switch to average speed and an odometer, hit it again, max speed and voltage. And this is actually a better way to determine how much juice you got left in the battery compared to this battery indicator right here. So, I mean, this is like, okay, you can check this fine, but if you really want to know how much is left, use this piece of information right there. Hit it again and it goes back. When I turn this bike on, the pedal assist is off by default and the headlight is off by default. So even if I turn the pedal assist on by doing a long press of the down arrow, you'll see the little flashy icon right there and then assist comes up. If I do a long press of the up button to turn the lights on, let me actually show you the lights real quick while they're on. That's that front headlight, and then here's the tail light. That's what that looks like. So even if I do all of that, if I turn it off and turn it back on, you'll see it actually resets to default. And I guess if I'm being picky, that's one more thing I would like to see changed in future models is to be able to have this thing have a memory so that whatever I leave it in the settings, it actually remembers it and it brings it back to life in the same way. Because if I set it to like have pedal assist on and the light on, that's probably how I want it, right? So whatever, not a big deal. Now the pedal assist modes 0 through 5, right? The throttle is going to be live from 0 miles per hour in all the modes, I think except for 0. If I'm pedal assist 1 or 2 or 3, the throttle gives me a corresponding amount of power depending on what pedal assist mode I'm in. I don't prefer that. I want the throttle to give me full power regardless of what pedal assist mode I'm in. And that is something that you can change in the back end of the settings here on this. So there's a lot of flexibility, not just with the bike as far as accessorizing it, but also with the electronics. You can really, like I said, you can set the top speed, you can change a lot of the functionality for how the pedal assist or how the throttle works. A lot of cool stuff you can do with that. And just real quick, going back to accessories, we talked about the colors options you can do. You can pick and choose for the frame. You can pick and choose for the fenders, for the chain guard cover. A lot of stuff you can pick and choose, but you can also throw a basket on here, or not a basket, you can throw a rear rack on here if you wanted to. You can have saddlebags. You can have a seat post suspension that they have there. They've got, I think it's a Tory and a Suntour seat post suspension for like $45 and like $75 respectively. A lot of the stuff you can get, on Amazon or another dealer or like whatever. You don't have to get it from EBC, but it is convenient if you do want it. You can get everything in one spot. But yeah, if you guys find, that kind of stuff, if you find an accessory cheaper somewhere else, obviously, I would probably say get it there, But look, awesome peeps. One more thing, and then we'll go to the ride portion here. One thing I love about the EBC bikes, and it's a small thing, but honestly, I like clean wire management, and these guys do a really good job with their wire management. I mean, this is like heat shrink, like plastic right here, and then like a wire mesh. Just really clean, really, really good looking stuff. Bundles up nicely right there, goes into that headset, and then feeds into the bottom, the down tube right there. So just really clean looks overall, and I really do like that, and I appreciate that about EBC. So, man, honestly, there's so much to I could probably keep going about this bike for another 20 minutes, but I don't want to bore you guys. I don't want to bore everyone to tears. But look, this is a fun bike. Again, this is like probably one of our favorite companies of all time, just because of like how much they offer consumers for such a reasonable price. It's a really, really good deal, and the warranty is just fantastic. So look, okay, we've blabbed about this for I don't even know how long. The next thing we have to do is let's take this for a test ride. So here we go. All right, awesome peeps. That is pretty much it for the review of the Electric Bike Company Model Y electric bike right here. In summary, the Model Y starts for $13.99, which is $100 less than the Model X that we just reviewed. Again, EBC has lowered their prices yet again. They offer free shipping, a lot of awesome stuff like we're talking about in the review. This is a very, very good value buy and one of the coolest step-through beach cruisers we have ever seen. It's a joy to ride, it's tons of fun. And there's a couple of really cool highlights of this bike like we talked about. First and probably foremost, this motor is just fantastic. The MXUS 500 watt internally geared hub motor. Really, it's 1,000 watt, very powerful. The cool basket battery, 10.4 amp hour, about a 40-mile range. The really good construction with the frame member. It's got that 3 millimeter thick frame compared to 1.5 for most electric bikes, so it's very, very durable. Just a really good quality, well-built electric bike from the ground up. This is going to excel for kind of wide open spaces, people who are looking for like a cruiser or a commuter, but don't need to be in like a very tight, like urban setting, going through cars, going through congested areas, stuff like that. Because again, the wide handlebars, just this long wheelbase, it's kind of a heavier bike. It doesn't really make for a very good urban commuter, but if you have wide open spaces, if you have a beach town or something to cruise in, this is definitely going to be the bike for you. Again, it's just so much fun to ride. So awesome peeps, I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you guys next time.